Greetings! It is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on EARTHDAWN. When we last left off, we were talking about, of course, pattern magic. I'm going to finish that up today, and finish up talking about group true patterns, which I was discussing a little bit. So the final two steps are, of course, first, when I'm creating a group true pattern, is the naming ritual. The naming ritual is when everyone that's going to be involved gets together, and one of them is chosen as a leader in order to lead the ritual. And effectively, as part of the ritual, the leader presents the name of the group, presents the symbol of the group, presents the basic information about the form of the group that's happening. Then, starting with the leader, they present themselves, the item they have, and give some kind of little oath to the group, some kind of thing that reassures they are part of it. Then each member repeats that, presenting themselves, presenting their item that's going to become their pattern item, and presenting sort of themselves. And the exact nature of this varies from group to group, though there are some standards that you can look in the book if you want to get an idea of what those standards are. They give an example of a basic speech that a member would give in order to complete this part. Then it's the time for the final part, the Oath of Blood Peace, which each of the members must participate in. This is a form of blood magic, which I will talk about in an upcoming week because we're moving into that. But you just have to know that it's going to be different than a normal Oath of Blood Peace in a couple of different ways. For one thing, yes, I'm kind of completing this blood ritual, but each member has to give up 2 hit points. Not 2 hit points worth of damage for each member, 2 hit points per member for the group. So basically it means I have to take 2 damage if I'm becoming a group. If I have 5 members, I don't have to take 10. It's not as nearly as deadly as it seems it could be. Once this is complete, the true pattern of the group is actually secured, and the items that everybody presented become minor pattern items directly connected to it, reflecting it. It will have all the same information like name of the group. It will have the information like the name of the person that made it, and the name of the members of the group. This is the kind of information that will be automatically reflected in it. And then the member could, of course, weave a thread into it and connect to the group true pattern at this point in time. Now, this remains as long as they renew the Oath of Blood Peace. They have to effectively renew that yearly. If they let it lapse, then the oath is broken and they are no longer a member of the group unless they renew the ritual and come back into the group again, which they can renew it at a different point in time. It's just that there has to be a ritual again. Renewing the basic Oath of Blood Peace is a little bit easier than having a much larger issue basically becoming a member again. Now, should you lose this membership, of course you're going to lose all the benefits of the threads you would have woven in and have to basically reconnect up with that way. You still have a pattern item, but you don't have the same connections. And once you've woven those threads in, you gain benefits when you're working towards the betterment of the group. Not benefit of yourself, you gain these benefits that are going to reflect you working along with the group. Now, as long as the Oath of Blood Peace is repeated every year and there's at least 2 members doing it, the group true pattern remains. If you do not have those 2 members, you do not have to support the group true pattern again, and it basically goes away. You no longer have that pattern existing there. Now, death can also have an effect on this. Should you die, your connection to the group remains, either until your oath would basically run out, or the group true pattern dissolves, whichever happens first. If you get resurrected or brought back to life in some kind of way, your basically thread that you've woven into the group is broken and has to be basically redone. You actually have to rejoin the group. Your item that you had before retains its properties as a minor pattern item of the group. But the fact is now you actually have to rejoin the group because your connection has been lost at that point in time. Once we are doing the yearly Oath of Blood Peace in order to keep up the ritual, this is when we can talk about actually getting new members. The thing about new members is that you have to have the group once again present to basically recruit new members into the true pattern, and you have to repeat the naming ritual and the Oath of Blood Peace in order for them to rejoin. So it is an actual kind of inconvenience to do it again. Basically, the sort of refresher of the Oath of Blood Peace to keep it going would be done alone. Otherwise, you actually have to repeat the naming ritual in order to include new members in and have them, you create their new minor pattern items connected to the group. Of course, when you're rejoining, you already have a minor pattern item. You're just reconnecting it to the group in a way that you're reconnecting yourself that you can actually use it. Now, there are some advantages to the minor pattern item you're creating and the key knowledges that are within it. First off, when you're creating this, you know all the key knowledges automatically if I'm joining in the group. So that means I don't have to learn any new key knowledges. Now, there is a disadvantage that if some kind of villainous person might get a hold of it, they could use this to gain a lot of information about our group. As I said, the names, the membership, who created this one, things like that, information that are very like the existence of the group, and they could of course use it against them. The thing about weaving these in here and using these minor pattern items is unless you're a member of the group, you do not get the full benefit of it. A member of the group gains benefits when connecting to it as long as, of course, they are benefiting the group itself and not using individual gain. Otherwise, connecting to it, you effectively could maybe get an advantage against the group itself, but it's not as big a connection as strong connection. So even if a villain would use this in order to take an advantage against your group, it's not going to be as a powerful connection as it would be with you, who may have had part of the naming ritual and the Oath of Blood Peace in the first place to connect to this group true pattern. Now let's talk about weaving that thread into the group true pattern. Of course, you're going to have to spend legend points, which the legend points are going to depend on the rank of it, and some information based upon your group true pattern. There is a chart that will talk about the amount of legend points you're going to be spending at this point in time. Then you have to make a weaving test, of course, of a difficulty according to whatever rank of thread you're attempting to make at this point in time, the rank of the connection you're making with this. Because it is a minor pattern item, of course, you do need to have a good result. You have to get a much better than normal result because of that. Granted, you already have a lot of information. You already have that key knowledge, and you don't have to do as much research, so it's pretty easy to dive right into weaving this here. But again, you have certain advantages and disadvantages anyway. Now again, if you fail, just like before, you can wait a day to do it, or you could use up one of your recovery tests to get an extra attempt to see if you could succeed in weaving this thread. Now there is a difference between your normal pattern items and the true pattern here. Normally you can get one thread per pattern item, but that limit does not exist on these here. You can get up to 5 threads on your minor pattern item that you have connecting to the group. That means you can get 5 threads with this, which is unusual for this kind of level. It means it's an enhancement that's a lot different than normal, because it's a matter of you connecting in this special way to the group true pattern. If anyone else should pick up your minor pattern item, they are restricted to the normal 1. So that means anyone else, even if a villain or something, or someone that's against your group, picks up this item and manages to use it against you, it is not nearly as effective as if you were using it. You can weave far more threads. So that's it for today. I finished up talking about thread magic and discussing group true patterns, talking about the rest of the way that you're creating it, talking about what happens with membership and getting new ones, changing it around, how you may lose your group true pattern, and of course I talked about weaving threads into it and the actual advantages you have. You get those ability bonuses that you get normally that we talked about before when connecting up with people and places, those enhancements either with them or possibly to yourself when you're interacting with them. And it works just the same with the threads you're going to weave in with your group. It's just going to be based around the idea of what's good for the group, not good for you. So as long as you're doing stuff for the good of the group, you're getting these ability enhancements. In the next episode, I'm going to move on to a new type of magic, blood magic. So if you need questions, comments, anything you say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and of course subscribe. It shows support the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.